Has expired. Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham. Can the Minister advise the Senate what the June 2021 national accounts demonstrate about Australia's economic performance during the COVID-19 pandemic and how the Liberals and Nationals government plan continues to protect Australians and support Australian jobs and businesses in the face of current challenges?
The Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr President. I thank Senator Hughes very much for her question. And Mr President, although we continue to be in the middle of a global pandemic, the greatest economic shock that Australia and indeed the world have faced since the Great Depression, the Australian people and the Australian economy continue to show enormous levels of resilience. As we look at the recent period of time reflected in the national accounts figures released today, it shows that during that quarter, even with 29 days of lockdown occurring across at least one part of the country, indeed including 5 out of 8 jurisdictions across that quarter, we still saw strong economic growth. Real GDP growing by 0.7% in the quarter, to be a record 9.6% higher throughout the year. This was clearly well above median market expectations. And this rise in GDP was broad-based encompassing household consumption, public final demand, business investment and dwelling investment, all contributing to growth across the quarter. Our economy does, of course, continue to face significant challenges at this point in time, especially across those states still in lockdown. But it is an economy that remains bigger than it was before the lockdown. And although the Delta virus is challenging us, just as it's challenging those who struggled with COVID last year, such as the US or UK, or challenging those struggling with the Delta strain this year, such as our friends in New Zealand or others, we absolutely have the economic support in place, some $311 billion providing income support, business support and assistance, which will ensure that Australia, if we stick to the plan, getting vaccinated, reopening, is going to continue to have health and economic outcomes, very much the envy of the world through these most challenging of times.
Senator Hughes, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Minister, how does Australia's economic and health performance during the COVID-19 pandemic compare internationally?
Senator Birmingham.
Mr President, indeed, Australia's health and economic performance have been world-leading. We were the first advanced economy in the world to see both the size of our economy, our GDP, and our employment market jobs levels surpass those pre-pandemic levels. More than 1 million jobs have been created across the Australian economy since May last year, and with an estimated 160,000 more Australians in work than before the pandemic, notwithstanding the current lockdown challenges and difficulties. Our unemployment rate decreased for 9 consecutive months, falling to 4.6% in July. And in terms of health outcomes, while we've tragically seen millions of deaths occurring overseas and still significant daily deaths around the world, in Australia we've saved an estimated 30,000 lives as part of that health response. Tragic though the loss of life is in Australia, there is much to be proud of in terms of the way we have managed this pandemic and managed to do so saving the lives and livelihoods of so many of our fellow Australians.
Senator Hughes, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. How can all Australians play their part in delivering the national plan agreed by National Cabinet, and why is this critical to ensuring confidence in our recovery and securing Australia's future?
Senator Birmingham.
Mr President, our national plan is about safely opening up, safely ensuring that Australia can return to a greater level of pre-COVID normality than was the case. It's about a plan to provide confidence for business, confidence that states doing it tough like right now, like New South Wales, can see restrictions ease as vaccination rates climb, but equally confidence that states like my own in South Australia, Western Australia or elsewhere, who have continued to successfully suppress COVID in highly suppressive ways, are equally able to see a normalisation, including ultimately a normalisation of travel arrangements as they too hit higher and higher vaccination rates. How Australians help us to get there is to keep turning out in record numbers getting vaccinated. Yet again, we saw huge numbers of vaccinations occur across the country yesterday, more than 330,000 doses administered, running at a per capita rate in excess of what the UK or the US have achieved at any
Order,
point of their
Senator
vaccine
Birmingham.
rollouts.
Time
It's a
for
rate
your